You found your way to the Winning Tactics podcast with host Adam Sinkus. Adam discusses winning tactics with small business owners and entrepreneurs, uncovering processes and introducing the tools and solutions for enhancing the bottom line. Thanks again for finding your way to the Winning Tactics podcast, and now your host, Adam Sinkus.
Hello, LinkedIn world, Facebook world. Welcome to the Winning Tactics podcast. We're just getting everything brought up now. Glad to have you all on board. My name, as you know, Adam Sinkus. I have with me today Gordon Tredgold, leadership guru. I am going to proclaim him as a guru. He is definitely an expert in the leadership space, and I am excited to talk to him today about the importance of leadership in small businesses and really how to build that. So, Gordon, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're about, and we'll start there.
So, my name is Gordon Tredgold. I'm originally from the UK, and I spent 30 years working in IT, delivering large, complex projects, programs, led $100 million programs, $300 million departments, drove large change, drove operational performance improvements, helped companies improve 50 to 500%, ran cost saving initiatives where I helped one company save 350 million. And all of that, whilst when I first started the career, was all very technical and much more, computing related, the more and more the larger and larger projects I got to lead, I thought they would become more and more technical, but actually they become more and more people-centric. And it was there that I had to switch the skills from being technically minded and understand how to lead, manage, and inspire people. And then 5 years ago, I decided that I would start to share the expertise that I gathered and started writing for things like Inc., Entrepreneur, Forbes, and then became a top leadership expert and speaker.
Awesome. Awesome. It's been quite a journey, and we've been connected for quite a while now, and we've had several conversations, and I've always felt really strongly about the content that you post. It's always very centered on people, which is something that I'm really passionate about. And so what made you kind of realize that people was the center of focus that you needed to have as a leader?
So when you're leading a team of 30 or 40 people, you can still be hands-on. You can still be Captain Kirk, the hero, the person who goes in and wrestles the monster, battles with the problem, and do it through your own capability and technical knowledge. But once you start leading teams that of 100 people, and you're now leading teams that lead teams, and sometimes teams that lead teams, you're much further from that technical aspect of it. And what you need to do then is you can no longer lead from the front. You've got to lead from the back, and that requires you to be able to inspire, motivate, coach people, empower them, give them the tools that they need in order to be successful. And the better you are at doing that, the larger the team you can manage and the bigger results you can have. I mean, for me, as I mentioned, I helped save 350 million. Did I save that money? No. I led a team of 1,000 people who saved that money. And by having them all with one mind, one vision, all empowered and motivated, we had that multiplier factor that allowed me to deliver that result. And I like to deliver big results, and I'm not good enough to do it on my own.
I appreciate that humbleness. I think that's a big misnomer that a lot of people that don't necessarily have leadership experience seem to think is that as a leader, we have to know everything. We have to be an expert in everything. And you and I have both had several conversations about this, and how wrong that mindset is. Let's dive into that a little bit. How does that mentality start? And as a leader, how do we overcome it?
So I think part of that. I think it's the journey. We go from being, nobody's born as a leader. We tend to join a team and we're just a team member, and then we get promoted into a position of seniority where we might be responsible for a particular area, and then we advance again. And now we're leading a group of people. And then when you make that next step up and we lead more people, it can be quite a challenge. And what we tend to do is we tend to think, I don't really have great leadership skills. So what I'll do is I'll impress people with my intellect and my knowledge. And now you've put yourself in a position where you need to show you're the smartest person in the room, because otherwise, if you're not, why are you in that leadership position? And if you stick with that mentality and you don't have the confidence in your ability to lead, firstly, it becomes a limitation because you can't afford to hire anybody smarter than you, because you're now you're creating your own threat. And also as well, if you are the smartest person, you are no longer an enabler. You are a limitation, because if you can't do it, it can't be done. And if you get trapped in that mindset, it's almost that scarcity mindset as a leader. You're going to find yourself pretty much putting a ceiling on how far you can go up. Whereas for myself, I was able to make that switch, and unfortunately, I think I was lucky that I worked in technology, and even 20 years ago or 25 years ago, technology changed so quickly that you're an expert one year, and then the following year that technology is no longer available. Yep. So your expertise is just it's gone down the pan. So it's like, holy crap, what can I become an expert in that's got some longevity? Okay, people managing. We don't lose the people, and what I found was that by being able to lead and manage the people, one, my skill set never got old. It never became obsolete, and also as well, by being able to manage and get the best out of people who were smarter than me, that allowed me to again deliver so much more. And as a leader, the more people and the smarter people that you can deliver, the bigger the impact you can have, and the more in demand you're going to be. So it was, whilst it's quite humble to say I'm not the smartest, it was still quite a little bit selfish of, if I can get the best people and if I can get them to work together, this is going to be something that will help me ride to the top. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was why I did that. And as I say, if you can't get out of that mindset and you need to be the smartest, you're going to put a limitation on what your team can do, and you're going to put a limitation on your career.
Yeah, no, I think those are all great points. One of the things that I love you pointed out there is it's this huge mindset shift from going, I don't need to be the smartest person. I think Gary Vee sums it up in a statement. He says, you don't need to be the smartest person. You just need to hire the smartest people. He says that all the time. And I absolutely believe in that, because I think trying to be the smartest person, especially technology, right? You pointed out technology, you can be an expert in something now, and in 3 months that technology is so far shifted that it's crazy.
Do you remember 3 years ago there was a product that came out, Periscope, video on Twitter? Where's that now? I mean, that was groundbreaking and disappeared.
Periscope is still around. They've shifted off into their own platform, and it's getting some traction. I wouldn't be surprised to see it come up in the next couple of years as its own platform. So,
these technologies, they come, they're big, they're gone. You know, Google Plus, boom, gone. The pace of change is frightening, and I think, you know, from a self-preservation perspective, if you can figure out how to lead and inspire people, one, you're not gonna that capability is not going to be lost. And secondly, I think what a lot of people might not necessarily see is that, you know, throughout my career, I worked for DHL, and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about parcel delivery. I left DHL and I went and worked for a company called Henkel, and that was a chemical company. I knew nothing about chemicals. I've been doing projects for Fujitsu. I don't know anything about their underlying business. But what I do know is I know how to manage the people, and the people have that knowledge. So my skill set is completely portable. Yep. Because it's all about people, and every single business is delivered by people. So the better you can manage and understand people, one, you're going to make sure that your skill set doesn't become obsolete, and secondly, it's going to be portable to pretty much any sector. If you need to be an expert in that one field, you've now just not only tied yourself to a ceiling of how high you can go, but also the vertical in which you can operate. You know, I'm only a quarterback coach. Well, you're never going to get to be the head coach, and you can't even move to become the offensive coach because you've specialized on this one thing. So. Yep. I would encourage people to understand how to get the best out of people. It really, and it's you know, and we both share that pleasure when you can help other people be successful. Boom, that is that feels like a good day when you come back.
Oh yeah, no, it's really interesting. Like I was actually looking into kind of the history of people management over time, right? And so. Yeah. You look back to the Industrial Revolution, and those that were in power were the people that had money, and they could hold that money and that control over the people doing the work. Set a certain precedence in the workplace during that time. Precedence really carried through until about the 50s or 60s, and then it started to shift. You know, people became complacent of that blue-collar type atmosphere, right? They're like, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. I'm comfortable where I'm at. I have a steady job. And that just became the normal shift of things. And so what's interesting is now modern workforce, the new generations are coming in, and they're really the first generations that are really starting to hold leaders accountable for the promises that they're making towards people.
Yeah, and I completely agree.
You know, so I think it's interesting as we watch this shift. In my mind, this is probably one of the first major mindset shifts from a labor perspective since the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, I think a good analogy for me is sport. When you look at people who have to manage a team of millionaires. Yeah, I've just signed a contract for $20 million a year. You know, it's no longer about the money. It's about inspiring them in the vision and the goal and the objectives of the organization. And as you say, the millennials are much more demanding of that as well now. And a lot of people tell me leadership's changed because of millennials. No, I don't believe it's changed. I believe that the tolerance for poor leadership has gone through the roof. Good leadership is still, you know, the stuff that Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great did is still valid today. The problem is most people won't settle for that command and control style that you could get away with in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and, you know, even the 80s and 90s. You've got to be much more inspirational, empowering, delegate, give people opportunities, nurture and grow them. And if you can do that, and these things are not difficult. No. You don't need a PhD. It's not a massively complicated Einsteinian equation you need to figure out. It's just people.
You know, that's so true. When I talk to leaders and organizations, one of the first questions I ask is, when was the last time you said thank you to every single person on your team? And your response there is perfect because you know the answer. But for those of you that aren't aware of this, 90% of the time that I ask this question, well, I think I said thank you to everybody in my team maybe in the last week or two. Right. And my thought on that is that should be every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And there's a difference between too much. I think, too much, if you're saying thank you for every little tiny thing, it's too much. But if you're showing genuine appreciation for them showing up for the hard work that they do on a project, there's purposeful reasons to say thank you at least once or twice a day to every person on your team.
Absolutely. And you cannot underestimate the power of it. And because there's a couple of things. One, when you say thank you, people realize that they've been seen by the leader. And if you've got, even if it's an organization with 20, 30 people, some of the people probably don't get a lot of face time with you. They probably think you don't even know their name. So to say, oh, thanks, Bob, that was great, that has such power to them. And again, newsflash, it costs nothing. It has a zero cost, but the return on investment for that is phenomenal. And I'll tell you a story. I worked for DHL, and we had a problem that we had a system outage, and one of the teams had to work throughout the night. And I was the deputy CIO, and I said to my boss, the CIO, I said, "Come on, let's go down and see the guys." And he said, "What are we going to say to them?" I don't really know what to say to them. I said, "Well, don't say anything. Just go and say thank you." And he said, "Oh, are you sure about this?" I was like, "Come on, this costs us nothing." And we went down, and he was a bit nervous, and you wouldn't suspect it because he projected such confidence as a leader, but inside, nervous, just speaking to people. And we said to the guys, so I kicked it off, and he said, "I just want to say thanks, guys. Great job, amazing work that you did. Through the entire night. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know." And the team just turned around and said, "You coming down and saying thank you means more to us than words could say. So you don't need to do anything else. You've done everything you need to." And we walked away, and he said to me, "Was that all I needed to do?" And I was like, "Yep." But it never occurred to him that it would have that power and that impact. And so when I'm critical of people for not doing it, I'm also understanding that maybe they don't understand how powerful it can be. And maybe they're worried that people are going to, if you say, "What can I do?" They're worried that they're going to get a laundry list of things that they need to provide. But, you can always say, "You know what, I'll look into that," or "We don't have that," or "We don't have the budget for it." You can always deflect it a little bit, but, we shouldn't let those things stop us from the little things of "Good job, well done, thanks. That was amazing." Because it's ridiculously powerful. One of my favorite positions in an organization is CRO, Chief Recognition Officer. And it's a role that everybody should be, especially if you're on the board, be the Chief Recognition Officer. It costs nothing. And when you create a culture of recognition, your performance will go through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Through the roof.
Yep. No, I agree with that. For those that are looking for, I want to go a little bit further than a thank you. I've always been fond of the pizza lunch. Especially surprising people on like a Monday with a pizza lunch as opposed to a Friday. Like those little things, pizza is cheap to put on for a lot of people, and it's just speaks volumes. So that's another great approach to the thank you as well. Is throwing a little food in their belly. So
yeah, absolutely, because it is, as you say, it is one step further. It's because people, if people look at it and go, "Oh, words are cheap," but actually you've taken that next step of action. And a pizza, it's not a lot but it's more than a thank you. It's more than nothing, and people will appreciate it, especially if there's no anchovies. Keep those anchovies off that pizza.
I like to throw the debatable toppings on there, like pineapple.
Yeah, I'm okay with pineapple, just no anchovies. So, and definitely not on a Monday. I used to work with a boss, and what he would do is he would every now and again he would organize we used to have a staff canteen restaurant kind of thing, and he would just send an email out and saying, "Hey, I'm buying ice creams," and everybody could just go down and get an ice cream, and it was a nice touch. People appreciated it, really appreciated it.
Yeah, no, like things like that are really simple. They tend to be pretty low cost too. So if you're worried about cost in your organization, pizza lunch is cheap. Ice cream, buying like ice cream bars from, the whatever your bulk, your bulk store, local bulk store is a cheap gesture. Like things like that is good. You can also get things like stress balls with your company logo on them for really cheap. And people seem to, I've always had good responses from like stress balls. And the other one that I like to do is I like to order blank cards. I've always kept a stack of blank cards in my desk. And, for those little gestures where people go out of their way to do something exceptional, just a little handwritten message with a thank you. Again, it's the same premise of the thank you, but it's that step further. And then they have something to hang on their desk too.
There's the same boss that used to give the ice creams out. He also, every now and again, if there'd been a big lengthy project, he would send flowers and a personal note to our spouses saying, "Hey, I'm really sorry I've had him working late into the evening, but we've had a critical project, and I just want to let you know that I'll try and let him home earlier over the next couple of weeks." And that's not even to me. So that's to the wife, and when we take care of the things when people take care of the things that we care about, that's an even better level of recognition. And it was. And the thing was, this guy wasn't the best. If I had to rank him on my all-time list of leaders, he wouldn't make the top 10. But in terms of recognition, he was in the top 1 or 2, and it covered up for a lot of other shortcomings that he had. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think recognition is a huge part of leadership. I want to shift gears a little bit from recognition I want to talk a little bit about goal planning and empowering your team, because I think those two things are just so hugely important for not only your company development, but also your team's personal development. And so what are your thoughts?
So the empowerment, I'll start with the empowerment because I think that's important, but I'll then come to the goals because for me that's as important as the recognition, if not more so. With the empowerment, for me, I did a webinar this morning. One of the questions was, what do you think is the most important function of leadership? And my answer to that is always the same. The number one role of leadership is to put your team in a position where they can be successful.
Yep.
And to make them successful, you've got to empower them. Give them what they need to go and be successful. Give them the direction, give them the tools, give them clear instructions, and then leave them to go and be successful. And if you do that, if you couple those two things of empowerment and recognition, not only will your teams be successful, they'll keep coming back to you and say, What do you want us to do now? What do you want us to do now? Because people want to work for companies that are successful. And so for me, empowerment and setting the team up for success is critical. And the first step of that is being absolutely crystal clear about what your goals are. If we're not clear about what your goals are, what's the success that you're setting them up for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't know.
I don't know. And the more clarity you have over the goals, the more empowered they can be. Because if they get into a position where they have to make a decision, if they don't know if they don't know 100% what the goal is, they're going to struggle to use that empowerment. It actually disempowers them because, you know what? I don't know what to do now. I've got all of these tools, but I don't know. Is it left? Is it right?
Yep.
So we've got to be very clear on our goals, and I'm a big fan of not only knowing what the SMART goals, got to be specific, got to be measurable. If you can't measure it, I'm a big, like yourself, big football fan. We can't say we're going to be better next year. We've got to say we're going to go from 8-8 to we're going to be a 12-4 team. It's got to be binary. Did we achieve it? Yes or no? And the more clarity we can have around that, the easier it is for people to put plans in place. And a lot of time people think the goals are clear, but one of the things you got to do is get your team to play it back to you to see whether they understand what success looks like. And when I do workshops with company leaders, one of the questions I always ask is that I have a goal to be a millionaire by the time I'm 40, which is an old goal, and I unfortunately didn't achieve it, but it's still there. And I asked them, what does that mean? And they went, oh, that's crystal clear. You want to be a millionaire by 40. Okay, spend a minute, write down what you think that means. And people will write down, you've got a job that pays you $1 million a year. Yeah, great. That meets the definition. You've got property portfolio that's worth $1 million a year. Yeah, that meets the definition. You've got shares worth $1 million. Yeah, that meets the definition. You've got 1 million in the bank. Yeah, that meets the definition. But which of those 4 different definitions should your team be working on? Because if you're not clear, you've got one team putting money in the bank, another team spending it on property, another spending it on shares, and another out looking for you a job that's going to pay you $1 million a year. They're all running in different directions, all thinking they're doing the right thing, but actually none of them working to what you mean by that goal. So the more clarity we've got, the easier it is for them to make decisions on, do I go left or right? Because we know what the goal is. So be crystal clear and then share it with everybody in the organization. I worked with one CEO and I said to her, what are your goals? She went, oh yeah, I've got my goals. I said, well, where are they? And we got the goals. I said, how many people in your team know them? And she said, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I only have a team of 7. It's not their business to know my goals. So how do they contribute to them?
No, I think that's really interesting, and I want to tie something else in there that I'm really passionate about with goals too, because I think this gets lost in organizations a lot, and it's we all have organizational goals, and those are usually tied towards profits, growth, money, market performance, right? The KPIs of business, right?
Yeah.
And those are important for the business. But the last time I checked, no individual contributor, unless they're on the executive team, really cares if the company makes 10% more in revenues this year.
Yeah.
So what I always focus on with leaders in that level of the organization is how you tie your team's individual goals back into the organizational goals. And it goes back to the example that you made where you're talking about everybody running in different directions, right? And working towards different goals. It's how do we tie those individual goals back to the central goals that we need to accomplish as an organization? So
for me, the goals have to roll down. When I joined a company called Henkel, and we had 2 primary goals. One was to reduce operational costs by 50 million a year, and the other was to increase operational performance. And then I started looking at people's individual goals, and it was things like, I will do 6 days of personal development. Well, hang on, is that improving performance or is that saving money? And they said, well, neither. Went, okay, well, we're changing that goal then. Let's figure out how you contribute to either driving, improving performance, or saving money, because this is what we've got to do. So we've got to have everybody aligned and contributing to the overall corporate goals, because then we've got everybody pulling in the same direction, which maximizes our efficiency and effectiveness, and that'll drive our performance. And then the second thing we've got to do is we've got to tell them why this goal is important to them. And as you said, do I care that the company increases its profit share by 10%? Well, if I get a bonus that's tied to it, absolutely. But what happens if you don't have a bonus for that? Well, you've got to find something of why this is better for the company. And I worked for one company, and the goal was to drive our profit margin from 10% to 14%. And everybody was like, yeah, what's in it for me? And the CEO said, look, we are a company that's in the mid-range of our sector. We're cash rich, we're performance low. We are prime to be taken over. We are prime. And if we get taken over, some of you could lose your jobs, because that's what happens. You get bought out, and for synergy, they get rid of half the staff. They take the revenue and dump the people. He said, what I want for us to do is I want us to be at 14% margin, because if we can do that and couple it with a 5 to 6% growth, that's going to give us a war chest where we go from being prey to predator. Mm-hmm. And if we're a predator, we can go out and buy companies, which will then put us in a position to grow and expand. And that will put every single one of our employees in a position to get bigger and better opportunities. You're going to be working for a more robust company that's got a long-term future. Now, whilst that might not give me a direct, oh, if we increase 14%, I'm going to get a bonus. What it's done is it's told me why this is important for me, the benefit for me. I'm going to be working for a company that's healthier, that's going to have more opportunities, that's got more reliability and growth, and that's going to give me security. So look at what you can do, and how does the employee benefit from it? And if you can make them benefit from it, then they'll contribute to it in a much greater way.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly on that. I always liken it to this. It's as simple as this. If you have an employee that says, hey, I want to go be a leader, how can I tie that goal, their personal goal, which may not have direct, we have to obviously hone that in, but how can we tie that into that overall company benefit? How does them being a leader in the organization help the organization out? And do they have the tools once they get there to be successful and help the organization out? Because that's the next piece of it.
Well, the question as well is, what do you mean by be a leader? Does that mean you want to occupy a leadership position, or does that mean you want to be an inspiration to the people around you? Because that's a leader too. If it's just about the position and the title, then I need to see some of inspiration to the people around you first.
Yep.
I always used to tell people, if you want to be a leader, start leading, because I do not promote anybody into a leadership position that I haven't seen leading without the title. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to happen. It would be like deciding you're not going to practice being a professional footballer until you get drafted. You ain't getting drafted unless you show the capabilities of being a professional footballer.
Yep. No, that's exactly right. And
people don't get it.
No.
I never understand it. We have all the examples of people training to become professional sports people on the off chance they might get drafted, but no, for leadership, you know what? I'm just going to do what I do, and if I get invited to be a leader, then I'll start to lead. Good luck with that strategy.
Yep.
Good luck.
Yep, exactly. So, well, Gordon, we are getting towards the end of time here. I definitely appreciate your insights and your knowledge today. I always like to have my guests leave one parting piece of wisdom. If there's anything that they should wholeheartedly really take away from today's conversation, what is that one piece of wisdom?
So I think, just coming back to where we are on COVID at the moment, I think we're going through a huge change, and a lot of businesses have been disrupted. We've seen a lot of disruption in businesses through innovation in business, but COVID-19 is disrupting all businesses. And as a business leader, you should be looking to see how you can take this as an opportunity to transform your business.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, it feels like today is a tough time, a bad time, but actually it's an opportunity to examine your business and really challenge what you do and find ways to do it differently, so that when we come out of this, not only will you have survived, you'll have positioned yourself to thrive.
Yep. Wholeheartedly agree with that. We've been talking with some of our marketing clients about that as well, and just doubling down on marketing strategies during this time to be market leaders as they exit this. But same thing within your business, finding creative ways. I wholeheartedly believe, don't give up on the work at home model just because we can all go back to work. I think you'll be amazed if you sit down and really look at productivity of your work at home teams as to how that's going to all play out for your organization. So,
and that'll build and drive loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I just did a project for Fujitsu. It was the first time I've ever worked 100% from home. And my first question when we'd finished it was, is there any more work like this?
I know. I love it.
Yeah, I don't have to iron a shirt. I don't have to sit in traffic for an hour. I'm home for dinner. I turn off. I'm ready for dinner. So it has massive potential to get more out of people, and look at it as an opportunity. Be positive. Lead during this difficult time.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree. Again, Gordon, thank you so much for being a guest on Winning Tactics Podcast. Where can folks find you if they want to connect and learn more?
So I'm very fortunate that I'm the only Gordon Tredgold in the entire world. So if you just Google Gordon Tredgold, you'll find me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out and connect. I am very accessible, and I do share a lot of content that will help people in their drive to be a better leader.
Awesome. We appreciate that. And I want to point out, I'm getting better at this. Down in the right under Gordon there, you see my Patreon link. If you love the content that I am putting out, I appreciate your support. You can drop on patreon.com/Adam Sinkus and help fund me continuing to provide this podcast for you. And provide these great people that come on and share their wealth of knowledge. I appreciate everybody. Have a wonderful week. We will see you all at Thursday at 1:30 with another good friend of mine, Monty Clark, where we will be talking about LinkedIn strategies. Yeah, Gordon's a buddy of Monty Clark as well.
Good guy, very knowledgeable.
Yep. So excited to have him on and really dig deep into LinkedIn and how to monetize LinkedIn for your business. It's going to be a great episode. Appreciate your time, Gordon. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Evening. Thank you.